basket weaving at Arizona State.
Head of basket weaving.
Honestly,
Yeah.
if Herm Edwards is the alternative, I would have gladly just kept Graham.
Yeah,
Don't forget
well,
to look at
again,
the camera, not the screen.
again, if it comes like if we lose that game to Arizona, though, if we lose and we get our asses kicked and we get our
Well,
5-4 in conference,
Can we let's be straight up right now. We don't injure Tate, we lose that fucking game.
We do, and I would
Yep.
still keep
By
Todd
a
Graham
lot.
over Herm Edwards.
By a lot.
You're
By
live?
a lot. Yeah, well, actually, we are streaming right now. I just wanted to start it up so that we could roll right in on live. I figured we'd just get the conversation
but
keep
it's not
going.
live on it, is it?
can you send Renee the link? So, can you send Renee the link to see if to make sure it's working?
Sure, I can do that.
Facebook message.
Facebook message.
I don't know.
Would you rather have a raven or?
Smoke signal.
I don't even remember the fucking account. Oh yeah, I got saved here. Done. All right, my channel says we are live right now, and we'll send it through Facebook. Facebook Messenger for some reason. Anyways, this is a terrible hire, and I'm really sad that this is actually happening. I honestly don't see an upside to this at all. I don't see how.
The one upside that I heard some guy calling on the radio would be, since he does know everyone in the NFL, is that maybe we get some badass position coordinators.
Yeah, but they're keeping the coordinators. So,
No.
Yeah, they're gonna.
Not offensive defense, but
Or you're like receivers coach,
offensive
line coach.
receivers coach. Right. You might
That's
be able,
interesting.
You might be able to fill out a well-rounded staff. I mean, he does know a lot of people.
So college football, let's put that aside for a minute, because we all know who won that territorial cup, baby. That's right. Chris, if you're listening,
yeah.
just remember that shit. Yeah, Tate doesn't give up 42 points, son. Anyway, all right, let's get into it. Football Shenanigans, live, week, what are we in, 13, 12?
Yeah, we're in week 13. Hard to believe. We're on the backstretch. And the Rams are still relevant.
But number one in your hearts. Thank you. That was fantastic. All right. Actually, let's recap really quickly. So, since the last time we were here, the Cowboys have fallen from grace. The Eagles look unbeatable. The Bills fell apart, and the train just not. I don't know what the hell happened. Saints continue to roll. Packers almost beat my Steelers. Man, that sucks.
Y'all suck.
Yeah, we fucking suck. We suck.
You made
Yeah.
Hunt like an all-star.
Everybody but Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Big Ben sucks. And the rest of them are good.
You realize the Packers didn't score a week earlier against the
Oh, I know.
Lions, right?
Actually, he threw more touchdowns in that game than he did in his entire career. So don't worry about it. All right. I know. Okay, I've been all over it this week. Anyways, we got a lot.
Steel curtain, baby.
Yeah. Like the tissue
Steel tissue paper.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Got a big round of games this week, actually. My games, I don't know about you guys. You've looked at them cursory. We'll go through them together. But my games were relatively difficult to pick, honestly. I'm not going to lie to you, because at this point, there is a shitload of traffic behind the leaders and a shitload of traffic above the shittiest teams in the league. So it's kind of difficult at this point. Stuff's getting down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens over these next few weeks. A lot of mediocre teams that are still relevant, especially in the AFC. But honestly, I think these next 2 weeks, we're going to really start seeing the implosions. And it turns out, back to your Bills point, if you change your quarterbacks more often than we change our crap dice, it's not going to go well for you in terms of scoring points.
Yeah, 5 interceptions in a half. That was incredible. That was an incredible failure.
I think we could have done better.
So, want to kick it off? Ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Sorry, everybody. Our standings are gone. Here's why. Because we're lazy. So we have no idea who the hell won in the last 3 weeks or not. So
I think I'm in first overall.
Yeah, I actually think that I'm in first overall.
I definitely am in first.
Well, actually, here's what we're going to do. For the weeks that we didn't score, everybody takes a 0. We'll just start it back the fuck up whenever Chris comes back. Oh, by the way, shout out to Chris. I know you're in Deep Blue Sea.
He backed up his shitter.
Deep Blue Sea. So, yeah, good luck. But I say we just, next week, keep it up. We'll let him put his picks in still for this week. But we'll start it up this week again. Same points as whatever the last time was. I feel good with that. I think everybody had I had a really up week 1 week and a really down week. I think everybody had about the same, right? I don't see
That sounds
anybody.
right. We'll just pick back up.
I think Josh, you're probably the most middle of the ground, but I think everybody was up and down enough to be like maybe 1 or 2 points difference. It really doesn't matter. So
Aggressively average.
We'll give ourselves the asterisk. This is the
Sun Devil football, baby.
We went on strikes. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so let's start it off. First game of the week. Everybody talk about it. Redskins at Cowboys. Which honestly, when the year started, this probably was a game they all circled as being super important towards the end of the year.
Elimination game.
Right.
Pretty much.
Must-win game, right? I think it's a must-win game for either team at this point to even stay relevant.
Hold on. First, who's keeping track of picks?
I'll keep track of them.
Oh, okay.
I'll write it down or something.
Cowboys, what, 3-game losing streak?
Yeah, and they have looked absolutely atrocious since
one touchdown. Touchdown in that streak.
They're so bad. The retirement. Their running back retired. He just quit. He was like, "Nah, fuck it, I'm good. Like that's it." Now,
so is Zeke that good, or is the tape out on Prescott?
Their offense is that built around him. He's not that good. Their offense is built around his success and the line getting that push. I think personally, the line has taken a huge step back. Who the fuck gives up 6 sacks to a single player? People without
Tyron Smith. That's who. He has been the focal point of that line for a couple of years, and you can see how quickly Dak loses faith in his backups as soon as they get in. Adrian Claiborne was murdering him, and it was fun to watch, though.
It absolutely was fun to watch. I was very happy with it, but at the same time, Des Bryant. Anybody want to put on APB for Des Bryant? 18 games now without 100 yards receiving. 18 in a row without 100 yards receiving. Man, that contract was not worth what you got paid, son. Sorry. No shit.
And it's interesting to me, just to kind of focus on Des for a second there, he doesn't seem to get a lot of passes from Dak where it's just a jump ball, an area where he excels. They don't seem to just chuck it up to Dak and let him do what Julio Jones, what AB do all day, and that's just take it away. Yeah, no, I'm saying he doesn't get the same passes that AB and Julio get, where they just chuck it and say, we know you're going to catch it. Dak makes sure he's open, and the problem is he can't get separation. So now we're not seeing a lot of jump balls, which is where his game was built.
Is that more fear of Dak screwing it up himself, saying, like, I'm not going to go deep to throw a pick, or is it more of the game plan is dink and dunk because we don't have the ability to stretch the field?
I'm not throwing a pick because I don't want to throw a pick.
I mean, I got to imagine Dak took care of the ball last year really well. I just don't know why they would all of a sudden lose faith in his.
Running back that was feared. He had a running back that would absolutely could at any point go 7 to 12 yards on any given run. At any point.
That's true. That would make the safeties cheat out.
He was unstoppable last year.
So who are you picking?
Oh, me personally, I'm going with the Redskins. I think Kirk Cousins has been playing shittily. He's been pretty bad. But I'm going with the Redskins because I just don't know what's up with the Cowboys and haven't seen anything in 3 weeks that even gives me a hope that they're going to be able to outscore people. Plus, the secondary for the Redskins is pretty decent, relatively decent. But the one wild card factor that holds me back is their tight end, Vernon Davis. I mean, come on now. So
big fat bagel last week. No catches.
Yeah, and also both lines on each side seem to be like sieves right now. I don't know what's going on. So, but I'm still going with the Redskins. What you got, Mike?
Full disclosure, I bet $350 on the Redskins this past week to beat the Giants. Almost lost that bet.
Straight up or against the spread?
No, straight up. They did cover the spread though, but that was a straight up bet. Because the line was, a little 350. I had 350 ironically exactly in my sportsbook account. I was like, oh yeah. They're going to beat the Giants. And then Cousins throws the pick 6 in the second quarter to
go Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, shout out to Bitcoin, our newest sponsor. Anyways,
these are little coins of knowledge, Bitcoin.
Yeah, so I don't love the Redskins. I'm still going to take the Redskins. Cowboys are absolutely terrible. But it's really fun to see Jerry Jones get essentially eliminated from the playoffs this weekend.
I think everybody hates Jerry Jones. Even Satan hasn't taken him back to hell yet because he's not ready to claim him yet. So,
Jerry Jones, shout out. If you have people searching the internet for like hashtag anything that's related to comments to you, we will drink with you. Not only will we drink with you, I'll pay for the first round. Let's do it.
We will drink you under the table, Jerry, or until all of us are under the table, most likely. But yeah, we'll see. See how many titties we're slapping around that night. But I am torn on this because I just finished scrolling to the end of the Redskins injury report. It is 14 players long right now.
They are offensive line.
Exactly.
There's 4 replacement offensive line players.
Yeah, that doesn't make me change my pick.
Doesn't make me.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got Morgan Moses, Brandon Scherf, Ty Nishke. I mean, you just look at those are three starting offensive linemen who are either questionable or already out of the game. So I don't know. I think this is a Cowboys game to take. They're gonna win at home, I think, on Thursday night. It's gonna be an ugly, ugly game. I'm not even gonna bother watching it, but I think the Cowboys win this one, stave off elimination for a little bit longer.
Nice. Okay, so we got Redskins, Cowboys. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Redskins.
You went Cowboys?
I did go Cowboys.
We did. All right, moving on down the list. Here we go. So this game was hard for me to pick. I don't know whose this is. Vikings, Falcons. Either one of you guys?
That is Chris. So
Okay,
we're gonna
so
cover it
we'll
as a
talk
team.
about it. Let me read my pick. So
Wow.
yeah, I don't care. Like it. That burp was
YOLO.
sponsored by Budweiser. So this pick, I chose the Falcons. To be honest with you, I was impressed with Case Keenum, impressed with the Vikings, liked their defense. Everson Griffin, please fight the Steelers. You're the man. Not the point. It's in Falcon Stadium. They've actually looked decent for 2 weeks in a row. Oh, and Julio Jones is alive. Holy fuck!
What a
talk about
concept.
253 yards, 12 receptions, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, some great zone coverage last week, by the way.
Antonio Brown had 160 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he was still less than you. That's fucking impressive. Congratulations, Julio Jones. I picked Falcons, but I think this is going to be a good game to watch. I really think this is going to be an entertaining game. I think I'll watch this one.
Yeah, Case Keenum all of a sudden looks like a Pro Bowler.
Wait, what? How the fuck did that
I
happen?
hate the Vikings, but Xavier Rhodes, I mean, I think if there's a corner in the league who can at least take out Julio Jones, I think Xavier Rhodes is awesome.
Yeah, he's super good.
If Case Keenum keeps playing the way that he's playing, I mean, watch out. So, as much as it pains me to say this, I got to go Vikings.
Burn just like to throw out a special burn in hell, Jeff Fisher. You made two of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL this year statistically look like complete fucking scrubs. So I hope wherever you are in Montana, you are just sitting on a bed of fire ants and getting your balls eaten alive because you are a douche. This was a tough one for me. I think, just you look at the combination of corners. You got Xavier Rhodes, you got Trey Waynes against Jones and Sanu. It's a good matchup. It's a really solid matchup. I'm going to give the slight edge to Atlanta because A, they need it more. The Vikings are pretty much wrapping up the North at this point, and B, I just think the home field advantage gives them the slight edge. I honestly don't see how they let this one slip through their fingers. I think Case Keenum gets eaten alive by Adrian Claiborne this week. I think I'm going to go Falcons.
They are playing in...
Anthony Barr is the Vikings MVP this season.
What? What are you talking about?
He's knocked out Aaron Rodgers.
Anthony Barr is the one who knocked out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
There you go.
Jesus. All right. And they're playing in Megatron's butthole, so...
Yep. How many Budweisers have you had?
Who, me?
Mm-hmm.
This is literally 0.75.
Just saying, your perception there was a little weak.
Yeah, I missed it. It went right over my head. Sue me.
Yep.
Texans and Titans. Who we got? Who's got that game?
Shit, probably me. But...
All right. Well, if you got it, then...
Then we're definitely
right,
not prepared
so
for it.
Here's how this is going to work. If it's not your game or it's not my game, it's a group discussion. That's how we're going to play today.
I like that.
Totally fine
Actually,
with that. So,
yep.
Texans at Titans. Texans 4-7. Titans are 7-4. I hands down pick the Titans.
Yeah, and the Texans should have won last week or had every opportunity to.
Yeah, except Tom Savage.
Tom Savage is terrible. There was another whole.
Holy hell, is Tom Savage bad?
I think it was 3 turnovers, and he had, 4 the week before or something like that.
Yeah, and his fumble was like, here, my arm's way the fuck out here. Just take the ball. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, Tennessee is actually pretty decent at home. I mean, this should be a lock of the week.
Yeah, I am definitely taking the Titans. Mike, Josh, what you got?
Yeah, I don't see how you.
Last time they played, it was 57-14.
Yeah, I don't see how you can pick the Texans to win a single game for the rest of the year. They are so bad. I think
Deshaun's breakout game.
Yeah, they played this year, October. Same division.
Was that Deshaun's first game?
No,
Yeah,
no.
It was October 10th. He was quarterback after week 2, so.
Week 1, I thought.
I was starting week 2.
Right.
Yeah, the best thing you'll watch all week is Tom Savage's post-game presser on Monday Night Football, where he walked in, had no reporters, said, "Are we good?" and left. The press conference literally lasted 3 seconds.
Yeah, I saw that. So you're taking Titans?
I am. Yeah, I'm not picking the Texans again this year.
All right, that's
Lock of the week.
Lock of the week.
That's a
Life lock.
That's a quick set lock of the week.
That's a good one. All right.
Yep.
All right, my game's up next. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. This game was super difficult. Josh, whatever you're doing on your end, get off the damn internet and stop streaming porn because the
I'm sorry.
for your side is terrible.
Is Pornhub a new sponsor?
Jesus
I was going to say, I'm trying to get BigWetButts.com to throw us a sponsorship banner. So
Titans are going to go deep, sponsored by Pornhub.
Exactly.
So
this is the butt fuck up of the week.
The lubeless. Never mind. We're getting off track.
We're getting graphic here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the next game. Kansas City Chiefs 6-5 playing the New York Jets in the Meadowlands. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a really fucking hard time picking this game. I thought about it for at least 10 minutes to figure out what the fuck was gonna happen here. The line has Kansas City by 3.5. You go back 3 weeks. This game's an easy pick, hands down Chiefs, no question in my mind. Chiefs come through and just run train on the Jets, no question. The Chiefs are way too talented, man, not to fucking break out here soon. Kelsey, they got
soon
Hunt,
they did break out.
They got Smith, DeAnthony.
Yeah, they flamed out.
Yeah, but they can't be on this slide, this skid that
What
they're
is it,
in
1-5?
What? In the last
They've lost 5 of their last 6.
Yeah, they've lost 5 of their last 6. They had a 4-game lead. They're now down to 1. So this is an absolute 100% must-win game for the Chiefs, considering this is an AFC opponent, and they have a 1-game lead over, I believe, the Chargers.
The Chargers,
yeah,
who are playing the Browns this week at home.
Joey
So
Bosa,
you
man.
start at 5-0, the Chargers start 0-4.
Yeah.
And you have a 1-game lead.
Yeah. So here's the thing: the Jets collapse in the fourth quarter every single time. They have 3 quarters of solid ball, which Josh McCown, honestly, to his credit, has been more than serviceable, has been relatively decent as quarterback, been averaging 19.6 points per week since weeks like 10 or something like that, or week 6 or some shit. That's not terrible. That's pretty decent. So I'm going, though, I think the Chiefs are too angry. I think the Chiefs got too much. Oh, one last thing. There's a wild card now. There's a new island in the Kansas City area.
Oh, Christ, I forgot about that.
This island is now visiting Kansas City.
The Midwestern Island.
Yeah, I think it's more like Ellis Island, so throughput instead of a fucking isolated island.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's back. I see him being motivated to play hard, considering he's playing against his old team. He won't do shit for the rest of the year, but I think he'll be motivated to be more than average. I'm going with the Chiefs in a closer game than expected. If you have to pick anybody on fantasy other than the obvious people, Hunt, Kelsey, I would go with DeAnthony Thomas. I think DeAnthony Thomas is going to have a pretty big game because they're going to need their slot receiver to get wide open and start either that or, obviously Kareem Hunt has been pretty average in the last few weeks. So there's going to be a lot of dump offs and there's going to be a lot of probably slants. So I'm looking at DeAnthony Thomas for some fantasy. So Chiefs in a close game.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said actually, which is rare.
Yeah, it's rare, man.
Yeah, I think it's going to be closer. Yeah, you're right. I think it's going to be closer than everyone thinks. But my God, unless the Chiefs are totally imploding, you got to win this game. You got to win this game.
Yep.
You got to win this game. Yeah, I'm rolling Kansas City.
Chiefs. What do you got, Josh?
My bold prediction of the week, before the end of next week, week 14, we are going to see Patrick Mahomes playing quarterback for the Chiefs. I think Alex Smith has just completely eroded down to nothingness, and I don't know what happened, why he lost his swagger. They've gone on the same arc as Kareem Hunt. As he spiked up, the team was looking good. Then they came back down to earth with him, and my God, Alex Smith does not have the deep ball touch anymore.
Weren't we talking about Alex Smith as the MVP?
I know. It's amazing to think that. Yeah.
Weren't other people talking about that?
God, week 3 seems like a year and a half ago at this point. But no, we're going to see Patrick Mahomes in the next 2 weeks. I think Alex Smith has completely gotten in his own head. He's got essentially what the kickers get when they get the yips. So I'm rolling with the Jets on this one. I think they hold home field, and the Chargers catch the Chiefs.
All right, there it is. Cool.
Next.
All right, moving on. And I actually wrote down could be a quarterback change if Smith doesn't get it together.
I mentally wrote that down too.
Cool.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
Broncos and Dolphins. Who's got this one?
That would be me. So, yeah, what could have been a great game on paper when you looked at the Broncos defense versus the Dolphins offense going into the season has become just kind of a wet fart of a matchup this week. Broncos on their longest losing streak since 1967, and you got to imagine Vance Joseph is probably not feeling super comfortable in his job. John Elway is going to start looking to defend himself from some serious critical threats from the president and from the team owner. So I think that there's going to be some pressure over Vance Joseph to get some games won over the next few weeks. But anyway, they're coming off a 7-game losing streak. Smoking Jay is back for the Dolphins, which is great considering they've lost 4 of their last 5 and have just looked generally awful doing it. I mean, there's really, unfortunately, not a lot at stake here. This game is kind of more for pride than anything. I think the matchup to watch here is Thomas versus Tankersley on the outside. I think Demaryius Thomas has been one of the most wasted primes of NFL history. Between him and Calvin Johnson, I don't know who suffered more.
Team?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So was Emmanuel Sanders.
And again, I just feel horrible for these guys because it's nothing to do with them. They've been, as they can do what they can do, but they've got wet noodles throwing balls to them. I mean, they'd be better off with those little T-shirt slingshots that the cheerleaders use on the sideline as opposed to the 3 guys that they've got hucking the ball to them. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Dolphins and Miami this week. I think if you're looking to start anybody in fantasy, it's Kenyon Drake for the Dolphins. Been pretty steady. Debated between him and Jarvis Landry, but I like Drake a little bit more in this matchup. I think they got to go to the ground more often just to keep Jay safe. And then Devontae Booker for the Broncos. He's pretty much the only semi-consistent guy in that team. He's going to start taking over the load of carries. I think C.J. Anderson is toast. So Dolphins at home.
Broncos offense is ungodly, unwatchable.
I mean, at this point, is it? I think it's Osweiler start. Or no, I'm sorry, it's Simeon starting again. But my God,
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because what's his name?
Paxton Lynch is in a boot.
Yeah.
He's in a boot.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to go Dolphins at home.
I don't think there's any question about it.
I think that's another lock of the week because.
Thanks, Joseph.
But here's what's gonna
Yeah.
happen. You realize this, right? I'm just gonna throw this out there because I'm putting a star here for me. You know what's gonna happen, right? Trevor Simeon's gonna come in and drop 4, and he's gonna it's gonna be a blowout Broncos, and they're gonna reestablish that, and then all of a sudden there's gonna be some random hype train that has no business being in Denver about Trevor Simeon. He's gonna recapture the magic.
So here's a question for you guys. So would you rather go, if your team, well, I know what Josh is gonna say. Would you rather go all in 1 year, boom, you win the Super Bowl, and then you suck, like the Broncos, or you take the Packers approach, where you're consistently competitive, but you never make it to the Super Bowl. You win 1 Super Bowl, you're consistently competitive, and you never.
That's literally the Steelers' MO. That's what they do. They stay consistently competitive, but they choke at the end unless they randomly break through. That's exactly what it is.
So do you want to be competitive year in and year out, and have a shot every year?
Yes.
Or do you want a guaranteed Super Bowl?
This is tough for me because I feel like, especially in certain, I think about the leagues like the NHL, you got to go all in every year because you just don't know year over year. I think there's more parity in the NHL, but in the NFL, I think you want to take the longer term approach. You look at the teams like the Packers, the Patriots, the Steelers. They're not always in it, but they're always relevant in December, and especially if they're healthy or relatively healthy, they're relevant in January too. So I think that's the better approach to take. I honestly would sell parts of my body right now to guarantee a Rams Super Bowl this year, but I think that building.
To pay you $1,000.
Yeah, well, that's going to be cashed in on a separate bet next year when the Rams dynasty continues. But God, I cannot wait to watch. They're going to be some of the most fun football we've seen in years. All that national anthem protest, all this bullshit going on in the background, no one's going to care. Yeah, you can phone in the AFC playoffs until the championship game.
The fucking last 3, I have no idea who the fuck is ending up anywhere.
Who's the third? Who's the top 3? I got Packers Patriots and Steelers. I don't know who the third team is. It could be the Chargers.
Jacksonville. Speaking of Jacksonville.
Yeah. Jacksonville coming up on that game right now. So
Jacksonville should be 8-3.
They should be 8-3, right?
That's good God.
If you go back to that Jets game too that they blew, I mean they could be 9-2. Talk
about
a team you can never trust when you're like, oh, this is a blowout game.
No, it's not the team. Here's what it is, and I'm taking over because this is my game. So Jacksonville, we got Indianapolis Colts at the Jaguars. Obviously, the Jaguars are coming off.
Oh my God. I hate the AFC South.
For how many yards? 70 yards or some shit like that.
For the first time ever, this game actually will not be televised.
Yeah, I would be okay if it was blacked out.
They'll call it mercy.
Honestly, here's what I'm going with. So last time they played, Jaguars scored 27, Colts scored absolutely nothing. But that was back in October 22nd. Since that time, the Jaguars have looked semi-beatable. They are number 1 sacks in the league, Calais Campbell. I don't know what you're drinking, man, but fuck, holy shit.
A whole lot of HGH.
Dominating. The line is 10 points, Jacksonville. They're playing,
Jesus.
The offense is better than it's playing. Fournette has been underutilized. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but they need to get him outside the numbers, stop running up the gut and getting stuffed every single time. He's not he's not going to be able to break through a wall if he's going 1-2-1-1.
And I just want to point out, because I forgot all about this. The last time these two teams played a month ago, it was 27-0 Jacksonville in Indianapolis.
But I think
nail biter.
Brissett is a surprise this year for not being absolutely a dumpster fire, but neither quarterback is playing very good. Let's be honest. If Bortles is still there next year with the same level of talent in Jacksonville, you can absolutely
Eli will be there next year.
Jesus. You can absolutely point the finger at the ownership for not picking out the problem on the team. That's absolutely their fault. Colts have been inconsistent. I don't know what the hell's going on over there. It doesn't really matter. I'm still taking Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville was angry about their loss last week. If you really want to take a fantasy player, you could take Jack Doyle or Moncrief. He's going to have to spread it around, and they're pretty reliable as tight ends. I don't see him going deep very often, not against this secondary, so we're talking about a lot of dump-offs. We're talking probably Frank Gore's going to have a pretty decent day. Marquise Lee or Robert Woods, of course. I mean, Lee is pretty much a starter on any team in any fantasy league, but Robert Woods will probably get a few as well. I just don't trust Bortles, so take that with a grain of salt. Fournette is due, man. He's fucking due. He's been terrible for about 5 weeks or 6 weeks in a row. He's due to have a big day. So I'm taking Jacksonville. I don't even think it's close. So I'm going Jacksonville.
Jags.
Yeah, Jacksonville. Not a lot to talk about here. Indianapolis is a tire fire you can see from space. What's that?
It was 27-0 in Indianapolis.
And now it's in Jacksonville.
Now it's in Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's in the Saxonville. Exactly. Those people who are so focused on the game that they can barely keep themselves in the pool.
It's probably more Jacksonville fans than Indianapolis.
Or whose game is Packers-Bucks?
That would be me. So, yep, I get all the fun games this week. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one because these are two playoff irrelevant teams and two fantasy irrelevant teams. So this is kind of a dumpster fire.
2 more games. A-Rod might come back.
Yeah, in 2 more games, they could be 5-8, so I'm not too worried about it.
Fucking 50 yards in the air.
I know, I'm just saying. So you get to say, if Brett Hundley could just win a fucking game.
Yeah, that's a tall order right now, considering that they are 2 games back from the second wild card slot, and Brett Hundley looks like garbage. Well, except for when he plays the Steelers.
Yeah.
So coming off of their 5th loss in 6 games. Buccaneers, the Fitz magic train has ended, unfortunately. They won 2 of 3 with him, but Jameis Winston is healthy and will play this week, which is kind of a bummer because I hate his guts. And he really kind of sucks at football, so I think Fitz magic is a little bit more fun. Overall, this matchup is going to be tougher for the Buccaneers. They're playing outdoors in Lambeau in December. It's going to be cold as fuck. The Buccaneers have very little to play for besides pride after flaming out and giving Dirk Cutter, just all of us Sun Devil alumni, a lot to be proud about. I think if you're looking for a good matchup, it's going to be Grimes versus Devontae Adams on the outside. That's just another one of those wide receiver cornerback matchups that's intriguing, but I think Devontae Adams gets the better of Grimes. I think overall, the Packers are going to skimp off elimination, or at least unsaid elimination this week. They're going to hold home field in Lambeau. They're going to beat the Buccaneers, and we're all going to continue talking about how Jameis Winston is a bust.
I'm going Packers.
Yeah, Packers at home. I mean, they've looked halfway decent in some of these losses. The Bucs have no defense.
No, they're terrible.
No,
it's just that
Packers should be able to win this one at home. It might be ugly. It might be like a combined 6 turnover game, but 13-7 Green Bay.
Yeah, Matt Ryan, who's looked pretty mediocre all year, put up 317 on this team last week. I don't necessarily see them stopping or giving Brett Hundley that amount, but I think he's at least competent enough to put up a good number on him.
All right, my next game. Super unsure about this one, but we'll throw it out there. Lions at the Ravens. This is going to be entertaining. This is a pretty entertaining matchup for me. 6-5, both of them. Ravens line -3. The Ravens defense has had a resurgence in terms of turnovers. They can't seem to stop the run very well, nor are they really limiting the number of yards that they're getting, but they have the most takeaways in the league by far. I think it's like by 10.
It's insane.
Yeah, they are at home in Baltimore, which always seems to give them a boost. However, this comes with a giant asterisk because on the other side of the ball, that elite Ernie from fucking Sesame Street is averaging 5.4 yards per attempt. It's literally the lowest in the history of the NFL ever. For a quarterback that throws that many passes at he's throwing behind the line of scrimmage. He doesn't seem to see any receivers downfield. Mike Wallace has been limited. Every single deep receiver. Who's the other one they signed this year? Macklin? Fucking Macklin hasn't done shit. Nobody is getting the ball downfield. They are not.
What a shocker that is.
15 to 20 yards. Now, here's the thing. I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of Ravens games or watched their line very often, but the Lions have a pretty decent defensive line. If they can limit the run, that's going to force the ball into Flacco's hands, and it's going to be all-out battle to see who can get the ball down the field. Personally, I think that Stafford is more hurt than everybody's mentioning. I think he's pretty banged up. I think he's going to be limited in terms of his mobility, but he's going to start. I think it's a close game, but honestly, I'm giving the edge to the Ratbirds. So Ravens are going to win this one. Let me tell you a fact. This is true. You ready for this shit? This is fucking real. You ready for this? So, Matthew Stafford, in his 9-year career, how many games in his entire 9-year career has he had a single back go for 100 yards? How many games?
One.
I'm going to go with 6.
It's been a total of 7. 7 total games. And the last one, how long ago?
Oh, God. They've had Amir Abdullah for 2 years. So
2 years, Theo Riddick.
What do you got, Josh?
I'm going to go with 4 years, Javid Best.
5 years, Reggie fucking Bush.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So, fantasy advice for everybody that exists out there. If you have a Detroit Lions running back, drop them immediately. Do not
Weep.
pass them. Do not touch them. Do not go after them. The only people... Now, let's ask the question about this. Any other team in the league? This is the same trend. Does that quarterback get as much shit as Matthew Stafford? Because Matthew Stafford hasn't had a run game. For 5 years, he hasn't had a 100-yard rusher.
Yeah, but the Packers went like 3 years.
That's 3 years. And he also had one of the best quarterbacks, so that doesn't matter. That doesn't count.
Yeah, he was paid less than Matt Stafford.
But Matthew Stafford is now semi-competitive with absolutely no running game. Like, none at all. Their rushing is 30th in the league, and they're still 6-5, still relevant to the conversation.
Yeah,
is it fair to give Matthew Stafford that much bullshit?
Yes, because they've never won a playoff game with Stafford.
That's true. I guess that is
And when
true.
you're making like $29 million a year.
Well, again, though, coming back to Adam's point, what wins in the playoff is good defense and a run game, something that Matt Stafford has never known. I mean, he's got a great defensive line this year. I love my boy Ziggy Ansah, but he doesn't have the support tools needed to make a playoff run. He is going to have just gaudy numbers because he has no one else to do it. And, yeah, I think overall, like, he's been set up for failure from the beginning. The Ford family does not know how to run a football franchise or hire the right people. So I'm going with I agree with you, Adam, that it's Matt Stafford is, I don't want to say he's underrated, but I think he is not given enough credit for what he's been able to pull out of his ass with no support at all.
Right. What do you got, Josh?
This to me came down to the battle of the running backs, Abdullah versus Alex Collins. I don't really like.
Collins is actually held at practice today with an injury.
Oh, well, that makes it a little bit easier to go with my upset special this week. I'm picking the Lions to win in Baltimore, keep their playoff hopes alive, and I think, honestly, Baltimore's due for a letdown game after the emotional get-up of beating the shit out of the Texans. They looked like they just won the Super Bowl on Monday night, which I don't get. I think the Lions...
It was a closer game than it should have been.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Lions get a sneaky one here. I think they get a very crippling pick 6 on Joe Flacco in the fourth quarter.
Well, Adam, you threw out a lot of facts. I'm going to throw out something here that I'm not entirely sure is accurate. But
Oh, perfect. And the Fox News segment.
I'm fairly certain the Ravens have played 5 consecutive backup quarterbacks.
Have they really? Holy shit. Hold on.
I think they've played 5 consecutive backup quarterbacks, so inherently, yes, their defenses look great. This is the first time, I think, in a month and a half they have played a legitimate starter.
They played on November 27th, Tom Savage. They played Brett Hundley. Then they played at Tennessee. So on November 5th, it doesn't actually say.
It was that was Mariota.
Mariota, okay, and then
a hobbled Mariota though.
Miami, they played Matt Moore, and before that, when they played Minnesota, they played Case Keenum. So yeah, 4 out of 5 games that they played in their last 5 have been against backup quarterbacks.
And Mariota was hurt. Yeah.
So we got a line. So I'm the loner on this one. Okay.
On an island.
Not Revis Island. Moving on. Okay. Who's got Pats versus Bills?
This is group chat.
All right, so listen to this. I'm going confident. I got one sentence. You ready?
Oh, God.
Bills 27, Pats 21, lock of the week. Boom. Gonna fucking happen. I'm telling you right fucking now.
Okay, I have a 1-sentence rebuttal. Sean McDermott is a terrible fucking coach. That's all I have to say.
I was going to go Buffalo in the upset this week.
Boom.
No, I'm taking New England. Bill Belichick is just going to come and drag his nuts across this rookie coach's face and make it a very one-sided affair.
Well, here's my only retort. Tyrod Taylor is angry. He's playing to get the fuck out of Buffalo. He will not play there again. I guarantee he wants to get there.
No, he's gone.
He'll probably end up in fucking Arizona is where he'll end up. I mean, he needs to get the fuck out of there because he's too talented and that system sucks. He needs to go somewhere where he's going to be appreciated and build the system around him. He's going to play his ass off. And I think the Patriots are due for a letdown.
The Patriots are absolutely due for a letdown.
Due for a letdown, man. Their heads have been getting pretty big about this shit. So, plus I need.
And, look at after all that, Martellus Bennett placed on IR.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, all that scandal, and we led right back to where we were at the beginning of the year, which is Martellus Bennett is useless.
All right, random topic time. You ready?
Yep.
Random topic. Unlimited money. You inherit unlimited money. You now have no more worries for the rest of your life. Where do you live and what do you do for a living?
Well, I don't do anything for a living.
Well, what do you do?
Wow.
What do you do to pass the time?
What a fucking original statement there. I don't do anything. Let's see. I'm probably moving to Cancun.
Wait. Where you live?
I don't know. I gotta think about it.
Okay.
I gotta think about it. I'm just going based off of experience. I'm moving to Cancun, and I'm going to be a beachside bartender and Zumba instructor.
You teaching Zumba?
Oh yeah, I'll have the time to learn it and get in the shape to do it. So
Yeah, dude. Get up and dance in your bathroom. Show us.
I'm not gonna Zumba right now in my shitter. I'll send you guys a YouTube video to upload to the Shenanigan Media Live YouTube channel. We will have a Zumba class put on by yours truly, and yes, you will see. I am destined to end up in Cancun teaching fat people to dance.
Oh my god, that is the most random. That's literally the most random. Dude, I didn't have any clue where you were. That came out of fucking nowhere. I don't even know what to say with that one.
Yeah, that's what I would do with all that money. Is just fuck off to Mexico and dance for a living.
Unlimited money and unlimited time. I would probably move to Switzerland.
Interesting.
Fucking bank system, neutral, no worries about fears of,
Bank system.
The bank system.
It's not going to collapse like ours potentially has multiple times. It's neutral, no wars, good cost of living. Plus, you get to go snowboarding, and you're super close to everything in Europe. You can go wherever the hell you want all the time. What do I do for a living? Or what do I do every day? Shit, that's a good fucking question. I would probably fucking snowboard all day during the winter, and during the summer, I would probably just kind of like go tour shit like around Europe.
I would live in Hawaii with unlimited money, and I would operate and own a cruise line company so I could get off the mainland anytime I wanted.
A cruise line company. Oh my god, you'd be the most pissed off cruise director of all time.
What would your cruise line be called?
Shut the fuck up, cruise.
Shut the fuck up. Get off my lawn.
There's not enough Ambien in the world to get you to be a jolly-go-lucky cruise director.
All right, ladies, time for water aerobics.
You would be on the craps table trying to win your own money back. You wouldn't even be bothering with the cruise customers.
Rob myself for $300.
Exactly. Then lose 7.
All right.
No, we don't comp drinks around here, man.
I got one more random topic. What is the worst sport?
Are we going of the big 4?
What is the? There's 2 questions really. Worst sport overall, just in terms of just like this fucking. It sucks to be a fan of it. It sucks to watch it. It's just terrible to get people into it. It's hard. And what is the worst sport to watch? You can set that aside. They're not the same. What's the worst part to watch?
They're not the same. It's soccer. Has no fan base. All the good athletes.
In the United States, it doesn't have a fan base.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're got a context.
Highest grossing video game like of all time.
Yeah, it's a great video game. I don't
They
know
make
watch the
billions
fucking sport.
off the
I don't wanna play
in-game
it.
purchases alone.
FIFA makes billions in dollars a year. They are able to run a slave ring in Qatar to build World Cup stadiums, and literally no one is saying anything. Amnesty International has swept it under the rug.
Averaging 1.25 deaths per day.
Yep. So they're not only importing slaves, they're killing a bunch of them, and Amnesty is not getting in the way, and that's because soccer is so popular. I will say it's pretty brutal to watch, especially if you're not a fan. It's impossible to get new fans to soccer in America because it is just not easy to get into. The pace is very slow compared to basketball, football, hockey. So I think the worst sport to watch, probably.
I know the answer.
It's NBA basketball for me because there's too many goddamn timeouts. The last 2 minutes take an hour and a fucking half. I could go take multiple shits and not miss 30 seconds of NBA.
Dude. You can say the same about football. Like I was watching, I don't fucking know what game it was on Thanksgiving, but I watched a fucking third down timeout, then a fourth, then there was a fucking minute of commercials, then a punt, then it was a fair catch, another minute of commercials. Then it was a fucking throw, and then a timeout, then another minute of commercials. I saw a total of like 13 seconds of football in like 2 minutes, like 45 minutes. This is fucking ridiculous.
So what sport are you going with?
Oh, what sport am I going with? Worst sport to watch? Hands down NASCAR. Hands down fucking NASCAR.
I don't consider that a sport.
Hands down NASCAR is the worst sport to watch. Now,
I mean, there's always the crash factor.
But it's the announcers that make it so bad. Like they're all former NASCAR racers, and they all have these like, "Here comes my boy!" Like it's like super. Like,
here comes my boy.
He's around the corner.
He's gonna take another left turn tighter. It's like, come on now, like get the fuck out of here.
You guys sound like plantation owners, not like NASCAR announcers. Jesus Christ.
Dude, it's ridiculous. And
you sound like Don Johnson and Django Unchained.
I'm only speaking from personal experience because I've been to literally at least 10 NASCAR races.
Why?
Dad's a huge fan of Dale Earnhardt Senior before he died, because that guy was a mean driver and he could do some shit in a car. But then NASCAR turned into nothing. It turned into nothing. It's just nothing now.
The new point system is pretty stupid.
Yes, that's the worst sport to watch. The worst sport, hands down, I think is. I'm gonna have to go with probably. You guys are gonna hate me for this one. I think it's fucking golf, man.
Oh god.
I love playing it. I was raised on it. I fucking play it. I love it. I own golf clubs. I play all the time. But
this is the first time I've heard you say you play golf all the time.
clubs are in the garage. Go see them.
When are we gonna go play?
We've played golf.
I haven't played in a long time, so I'm bad. So I'll play. But Chris has seen me play. I played with Josh, and I was terrible.
So was Mike. You're fine.
Josh, I beat you last time we played.
So here's why
I don't remember that
The
one.
only reason I say that. Try getting people into golf. Try getting anyone to try and play golf with you. Baseball, you can have somebody sitting in the outfield and do fucking nothing. Football, they can stand there and just be an alignment. You can have fucking basketball players. People shoot the ball all the time. It's at least fun for them. Golf is not a fun sport if you suck. It's not fucking fun.
It's barely fun when you don't suck.
2017. Why put effort into it? I'm only going to take part in things I'm good at naturally.
Right, but it's really hard to get people to like, oh, you want to go play golf? There's a connotation when you say that to people. You know that people look at you weird when you ask that question that don't play golf. They have this.
Well, when you say it with that inflection, do you want to go play golf? It sounds like, do you want to go get an enema?
Hey, that's my voice, man. I didn't say
Speaking of,
inflection,
do you want to watch this game coming up on Sunday?
Honestly, this was a hard game to pick. All right, game up next. Niners and Bears. John, is this yours?
No, this is, I believe Mike. So group conversation.
So.
Is Garoppolo starting, right?
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is, because Bethard is hurt.
Retard. Sorry, guys. I'm bringing it back.
Wow.
Okay, I'm reclaiming that word.
Yeah, I saw Garoppolo showed flashes last week.
He's the
A
only.
couple of nice throws.
In his 2 passes
Yeah, it's 2 passes. One was a touchdown.
Yeah, that's exactly my point.
in garbage time.
Okay, you're still. I mean, the Bears 3-8. The Niners, I think, in half their games have lost by like less than a score.
I think so.
I think new quarterback. They're motivated. I don't trust Trubisky and the Bears whatsoever, or John Fox.
It's more John Fox than Trubisky.
San Francisco lost a lot of their early games by very few points. After about week 6, they started getting blown out. Dallas beat them by 30. 8. Then Philly beat them by 23. Arizona beat them by 10. The Giants. Oh no, they beat the Giants by 10. And then they lost to Seattle by 11. So
I'm going Niners.
I picked Niners as well. I thought that this is going to be the Garoppolo beginning. I thought that this is going to be. They're not going to know how to game plan for this guy. He's throwing 2 fucking passes. He's going to be able to do whatever the hell he wants. They don't know what the fuck he's going to do.
I think John Fox is playing for his life here. He's definitely not making it into next season. I think they're going to wait until the end of the year to fire him and hopefully undo some of the damage he did to Trubisky this year. But by the way, the Niners' correlation to close losses being blowouts to their injury report, that's where you're going to see why they started sucking ass, is that they have lost a lot of players to injury this year. Pierre Garçon, they lost Torrey Smith. They just don't – they're not not Torrey Smith. I can't remember who it is. Anyway, the point is they've lost a lot of players to injury, so that's probably why they're getting blown out more. It's in Soldier Field, so I'm taking the Bears. I don't feel great about it, but I'm thinking the Bears squeak one out here, and it's going to be just like a Taco Bell dumpster of shit going on in this field.
Picking the Bears,
Yeah, natural grass field too, so it's gonna be sloppy as fuck.
Sounds like fun.
All right. Chargers, Browns.
Moving on. Does anybody have anything to say beyond Chargers?
No, Chargers.
No, there's really not much to talk about here, except for Corey Coleman is worth a start in fantasy consideration. Casey Hayward actually just went home today from the Chargers. His brother was launched out of a car and was killed in an accident last night, so they do not know if he's going to play. I know, it's terrible. It's,
Sorry,
yeah, prayers to Casey Hayward.
Sorry, bro.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. The kid was 18 years old, just fucking awful. So anyway, Casey Hayward is at home, and they don't know if he's going to play this week. If he doesn't, for that reason, Corey Coleman is worth starting in almost every fantasy league. I think he's a wide receiver too, almost. He gets 30% of their targets. He had 80 yards on 6 catches last week, and we're losing Adam. He's going deep. He's gone.
And Chargers, Giants.
Yeah, what's that?
Next game, excuse me, Raiders, Giants.
That was I believe that was an Adam game, unless it was you.
I don't know who has that game.
No, that is me. But
yeah.
All right, so
it's Geno Smith time in New York.
Oh God, can anybody?
The most entertaining ripping up of Ben McAdoo I've ever seen of any coach of anybody ever making a decision that was
Holy
amazing.
shit! You should have heard San Diego radio, which is run by ex NFL center Nick Hardwick. Oh my God, you would have thought that Ben McAdoo kicked his infant son with the way he reacted to that benching of Eli. Like NFL players across the world are pissed off about how this was handled and the fact that McAdoo is is forging the dynasty or the legacy of Eli Manning, considering he's going to be unemployed in about 5.5 weeks.
Now I'm going to offer a counter argument to that. Just one. Okay. He refused to fucking play a snap in San Diego. Flat out fucking refused. Okay?
Told him not to draft him.
This is the guy that flat out, but that's not his fucking choice. It does not fucking matter. You're not allowed to choose who you get drafted by. You get drafted, you play hard, you make your fucking way in the NFL.
Tell that to Sam Darnold.
And well, fuck that guy. He's a USC quarterback. What do you expect? So he's gonna suck anyways. It's a USC quarterback, right? That's what we're talking about.
That's true.
So, but here's the thing. He was given the option to start in the first half, or come in the second half, or like start and then be pulled halfway through the first quarter, so that he kept his streak alive. Ben McAdoo is making a mistake, 100%, hands down. This is stupid. This is dumb. It's very dumb.
This is dumb. This is why it's dysfunctional as the Raiders are.
It's dysfunctional, but the Raiders are definitely gonna fucking win this game.
Yeah, the Raiders are gonna win this game. It's gonna be a blowout.
It's gonna be bad.
I don't know. I think the Raiders are down Crabtree and Cooper for this game. So their number one wide receiver right now is Cordero Patterson.
Geno Smith.
I think it's Orleans Darkwa's game to win. At this point, I honestly think
That's a sentence I never thought I'd hear.
He's lucky.
I never thought I'd say it, but it's Orleans Darkwa is literally the only player on this field who could potentially win this game. Like, you look at either side of the ball, and I don't see a single playmaker on offense capable of winning a game besides Orleans Darkwa.
So who are you going?
I'm going with the Giants at home.
Well, it's the Giants at Oakland. So.
Or Giants in Oakland, excuse me. Sorry.
So you have to win on the Giants.
Yeah, no, I think the Giants pull win one for the Gipper kind of game here.
You are out on the limb this week, sir.
I know. I'm isolating myself.
Yep, you are looking to score some points, it looks like.
Yep, exactly.
All
Separate
right,
myself.
so this game is also going to be highly entertaining. Probably
Game of the week in my book.
I don't believe that. The game of the week is the night game on Sunday for sure. I think that's going to be a good game. But we got Carolina Panthers at the Saints. This is my game. Saints are rolling. They didn't look super great last week, but they still have a very potent offense. Nobody saw that coming. Kamara and Ingram are a crazy double-headed beast. That's a great pickup for them. Kamara looks like a bell. I don't know where the hell he came from, but man, is he versatile all the way around the board. Panthers, man, so I just don't have any idea what to even make of the Panthers. Like, some weeks they're amazing, some weeks they're average, some weeks they're bad, some weeks they're, I don't know. It all rests on Cam Newton, and I just don't think he has the mental strength to take a team all the way. I just don't. I don't know why. I have no faith in him being able to lead a team as a true, like, look up to this man, he's going to do what he does. He said so many stupid things. He's done stupid, immature things. I just don't think he's ready to be that dude. He should be. He's been in there for far too long. But that being said, this is in the Dome. Panthers are coming to the Dome.
It's a track meet.
This is, Saints are coming off a loss. This is an absolute must-win for either team, and the Saints are hungry and mad. I'm going with the Saints all the way. I think they are going to blow it out. For fantasy, you should probably pick up Fleener if he's out there. I think that's going to be a good pick for them.
Is his brain still working?
Yeah, he is.
Did you see that hit last week? He took a nasty hit.
Ed Dixon is also probably going to get a couple balls this week. Saints defense is tough, but they're going to be able to spread it around, I think, a little bit. So
well, you're looking at it right. So you're going Saints. You're looking at it right. There was 34-13 in Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, at home, who dat?
Yeah, I know. And if you look at the standings, they lose this game, they're tied for first with the Panthers. And then the Falcons could get in the mix as well with 2 games coming up against the Saints in the next 5 weeks. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm also going to take the Saints, I think, at home. I don't trust Cam. I think Kamara and Ingram are going to play their asses off. Drew Brees has been able to cruise control this entire season, and it's been probably the biggest relief of his life to not have to huck it 56 times a game. So I'm taking the Saints at home to keep first place.
All right, Rams-Cardinals
is your game?
This is my game, and of course I know. Yeah, just had to give myself the good game this week because.
Crap shit games. Anyways, continue.
Well, I mean, this isn't exactly a great game. I've got Blaine Gabbert on one side of the ball throwing it around. So I think the Rams finally establishing themselves as contenders in the NFC. I think they finally beat a team that was worthy of consideration in the playoffs as opposed to a bunch of low-level shit teams. Again, people will say that they played shitty teams and beat them, but, they can only play what the schedule gives them. So I think this year, Rams have been the biggest surprise probably of any of the teams. It would have been the Bills, except for the fact that they came back to being the Bills. Overall, this game is going to be you all right there? All right. We've got some animal control issues. This has become the wild Animal Channel hour. Anyway, I think the Cardinals coming off of their Super Bowl of the second half, there's really no reason to think that Blaine Gabbert is going to put up any kind of numbers on this defense when their offensive line is completely in shambles. Humphrey's on the shelf for the year, and Aaron Donald is going to eat him alive, making him throw bad throws. Overall, I think even though it's in Arizona, you got to like the way that Rams are spreading the ball around. I think Todd Gurley's going to have a feasting game here, and I'm going with the Rams winning by 35 points in the bird's nest.
Well, this is, despite adding Adrian Peterson, the Cardinals still ranked last in the league in rushing.
Oh, let me put on my most surprised face for 32-year-old Adrian Peterson not helping at all with the run game.
Against my better judgment, I'm actually going to go Cardinals at home, only because I think the Rams are due for a letdown. I think the Cardinals still have one more. I mean, they beat Jacksonville last week, but this is more of a gut than a brain call here. I'm going Cardinals at home.
So my reason for picking the Rams is because the Rams can stop the run. The corresponding factor for the Cardinals losing is not being able to run. And last week, it wasn't the Cardinals that lost, it was the Jaguars offense that lost. Or the Cardinals that won, it was the Jaguars offense that lost. That's pretty much how I look at it. So Goff is better than Bortles. They got a better offense. They've got a better, well-rounded offense. I think the Cardinals are going to have their hands full. Yeah, I'm going with the Rams.
It was 33-0 the last time they played with Adrian Peterson and Carson Palmer. So I'm going with a very lopsided affair. Fantasy-wise, if you're starting anybody on the Cardinals, it's Larry Fitzgerald. No one else is worth even considering. A bunch of fluky touchdowns to John Brown, J.J. Nelson, and Jerron Brown. Not going to be worth trying to get a hope and a prayer going. Cooper Kupp on the other side. Patrick Peterson is going to be all over Sammy Watkins. Robert Woods still hurt. So Cooper Kupp going to repeat his six-catch, 100-yard performance from last week.
All right. Game of the week. This is my game of the week. This is the Eagles at the Seahawks in Seattle. 10-1 Eagles looking absolutely dominant. Seattle Seahawks up and down, seemingly getting their offense on track after looking like just a dumpster fire for the first 4 or 5 weeks. Jimmy Graham resurgence, by the way. He's alive.
I know. So finally earning a check.
Finally earning his check, yeah. So I had a hard time picking this game. I have it written down that Eagles are here. I'm not taking that. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I'm going with the Seahawks at home. Specifically because, one, the Eagles have looked absolutely dominant. They have to have a weak point, man. Everybody does. If they don't, then they're going to win the Super Bowl. But personally, I think that they're due for a letdown. They're coming far West Coast. They're going to play later than normal, which I guess really doesn't affect East Coast players too much. But it's going to be, I think it's going to be close, but I definitely think the Seahawks are going to pull it out, even without
Sherman.
Cam Chancellor.
Cam Chancellor.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks.
Cliff Averill.
I'm gonna go Eagles in a rout. You look at the Redskins have come into Seattle this year, beat them. The Falcons have come into Seattle this year, beat them. That was before Sherman got hurt. Chancellor's out.
Texans would have won that game too.
I think the Eagles have played very, very. The Texans almost won. Yeah, I think the Eagles defensively have played really well. They'll be able to slow down Wilson, and I just think that the Seahawks defense just floodgates wide open. Eagles are playing too well. I think the Eagles win this running away.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, as much as I wanted to take the Seahawks just because it's in CenturyLink, I think that they're just way too hurt on defense. And this is one of those games that there's a lot of exposure that Carson Wentz can pull on this defense. I think Michael Bennett is going to have a big game, but overall, I think Wentz is just going to carve them up deep, especially because they just don't have the secondary help anymore. I think Eagles win this one pretty easily.
All right, before we go to the last game, I got 2 topics.
And I got one as well.
Your favorite movie that nobody else has ever heard of, that you watch all the time, that nobody else has seen. I'm going to throw mine out there. I can't remember his name. The actor who plays Captain America.
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. In 2007, made a movie called Sunshine. If you have not seen the movie Sunshine, it is a futuristic thriller about saving the planet by restarting the sun.
Cillian Murphy was in that too, wasn't he?
Yes, and that is the guy from 28 Days Later. Yep. And it is a fantastic movie, both visually and plot-wise. A lot of twists, a lot of turns, a lot of action. Fucking love it. Sunshine. What do you got?
I mean, there's not really a movie at all I watch all the time, but what is a obscure movie that I really, really enjoy?
That most people don't know, yeah.
You guys might know. I don't know. Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, super good.
That movie is so fucking depressing.
Okay, well then I would go. I think it's a great movie though.
It is a great movie.
I would go the knockoff of that then, Spun. If you've ever seen that,
I have not.
Far lesser known. If you like Requiem for a Dream, Spun is along the same line and equally as good, but far lesser known. I haven't watched that in a few years, but I would highly. If you like Requiem for a Dream, you got to go watch Spun. Super fucked up, but very.
Sounds lovely. Can't wait to watch that one with the family and the kids. I'm gonna go with. It's probably you guys have probably heard of it. It's just not really well known because it was in the era of bad Ben Affleck movies. But Paycheck. It is a thriller.
Oh, yeah.
All right, yeah. Love that movie. It's one of those movies that even though it's terrible, I will always sit down and watch it just because I always want to make sure Ben Affleck gets his memory back and he gets that final winning lottery number. So I think Paycheck is one of those that it didn't get its fair shake back in the day because that was when Ben Affleck was also Daredevil, and we all know what happened there. So, yeah.
All right, now I've got a controversial topic. I'm going to get you.
Oh boy.
So, I guess I got to preface this.
I don't know how you could preface it more. We're all on a limb here.
It came up somewhere during my travels, whether it was at work or wherever, doesn't matter.
It's anal sex, isn't it?
No. Somebody came up to me and showed me a picture of a girl who had been modeling. Cool. I was like, she's like, oh, this is somebody you know. I was like, oh, I don't recognize that person. Told me who it was, and I was like, oh, okay. This person is early 20s. Okay. I was like, oh man, she looks just like Selena, right? Because she's from Guadalajara or something like that.
Who the fuck is Selena?
I thought, huh?
Who's Selena?
The singer? The Mexican
No idea.
singer?
Oh, I'm getting shit from all angles here. I have no idea. Okay, so apparently it's just me. Continue.
Wow, Selena's like super famous, man. She's like Shakira level famous, man. In Mexico. She's crazy. Anyways, not the point. I don't think Shakira's from Mexico. Anyways, not the point. So.
She's Colombian.
I was like, oh man, that's cool. When did you take that? Like a couple weeks ago? Nope. When she was 15. And she was like a 22-year-old. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. This is where it leads into my topic, right?
We're talking about child pornography?
No, we're not. We're talking about equality as it relates to sports. So, do you think that there's a position in the NFL for women beyond being either a kicker or a coach?
In the NFL?
In the NFL.
No.
Do you think that there's a position for a woman in Major League Baseball beyond, well, I don't know, just period?
I would say far more likely baseball than football.
Okay. It depends. If they have the baseball background, if they grew up playing baseball and not softball, I think you could easily make an argument that a woman could play baseball way more than you can make an argument that a woman could play football.
So here's my point, right? Even if the woman is a kicker, there's that one girl who has a full ride scholarship to somewhere in the NCAA for being a kicker. She's a starting kicker.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, I don't remember where it is, but here's the thing. Let's talk about this. You kick the ball, short on a field goal, and Antonio Brown takes that fucking return, and he goes right up the sidelines. Do you think that that girl is stopping Antonio Brown if he gets right up in her face?
Antonio Brown is going to gladiator kick her all over again, just like we saw in the opener against Cleveland.
Pitt, right? Like he's gonna fucking take her soul. Now think about baseball. She couldn't play catcher. Can you imagine fucking A-Rod size motherfuckers or
Aaron Judge,
Goldschmidt coming in for a fucking slide and she's blocking the plate? Okay. Same with now think about NBA. WNBA versus NBA players. Do you think any WNBA players could come in and play in the NBA? Maybe for the Suns, but I'm saying in general, do you think they would be successful?
Yeah, I think a few of them might.
Just for shooters or dunkers? Like, do you think the bigger players, or are you talking about role players where they're swingmen or like shooting from the outside?
I'd say shooting from the outside.
I was going to say wingers definitely would be able to, I think, transition if they had the ability to shoot from 24 feet because it's not a physical NBA anymore. It's not the same NBA as we grew up in the 90s.
So I think athletically, yeah, I mean, there's some really.
So to tie the stories together, right? Obviously, I came up with that story about modeling and then sports. Like, how did it tie together? So the question is, right? We want equality across the board. I support equality, hands down. Jobs, money, fucking treatment, absolutely. Everybody should be treated equal. But there's just a difference in size, speed, strength, and just general testosterone. Men are angry. I can be angry, and when I get angry, sometimes I get stronger than normal, right? I know you've all experienced it when you're pissed off, you do something dumb.
Are you drawing yourself to the Incredible Hulk in this comparison?
The question is, right, where does the line get drawn between, okay, yes, we can treat you equal to a point, right? Because you don't want to be objectified, but yet you're showing me pictures of a 15-year-old that looks like a 25-year-old, okay? That's kind of fucked up. I don't want to see that. I want to see someone who's at least, I don't know that she's 15. Like, what if I had said some stupid, inappropriate shit when I saw that picture? Then I'm being treated like shit. Because
Chris Hansen comes out of the bushes and asks you to take a seat.
Yeah, that kind of shit, okay? But where does the line get drawn between equality? Do you allow them to try, and then once they get fucking brake trained, then you're like, no, we're going to need to back it up a little bit? Or do you allow it to continue and allow the argument to be there that they could do it when we
don't know
that they can't?
No, I think you bring them on, but it's just like any other player. Like, it'll sort itself out pretty quick if it's going to work out or not.
I do think
the Steelers, like, we're going to know pretty quick you can't cut into wide receiver. So.
Well,
no, I think I kind of understand your point. Is it better to not know and have that discussion, or as opposed to put them on the field and settle it once and for all, whether for positive or for negative? I don't know. I mean, I think that there is probably, I don't know if it's necessarily in our lifetime, maybe at the tail end, depending on how long we live. Thank you, Krispy Kreme. We may see women in all men's sports, such as Major League Baseball, before we go into the ground. I do think I would rather see them get a shot at it because, quite honestly, if the sport is more entertaining with people in it, if there are personalities that will make the game more watchable, I'm all in favor of that. If there's a situation that I will want to turn on a game for the Dodgers that I would never normally watch, and it's because the first female outfielder is playing, I would absolutely support that because it drives ratings, it drives entertainment. It's going to get people to come to the game.
That's true. Agreed.
So.
And Josh, you said you had a topic.
I did. It's just a little bit more lighthearted than child pornography and sexism.
It was a good topic.
I know. It was a good topic. I know. I just got to give you a little bit of shit about it. I just have a quick little yes or no game for the three of us. It's called Are They on a Team Next Year? And I've got 5 quarterbacks right now who are fringe players, but let's just talk about whether or not we think they'll actually be playing in the NFL next year. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. First one, I guess you could say it's kind of easy. Blake Bortles. Is he still playing? And if so, who is he playing for?
Yes, Cardinals.
Yes.
He's going to be the Cardinals starting quarterback next year.
Oh, God, I can't wait.
Yes, Jaguars. I have no faith in them.
I'm going to say yes, and I think he's going to get one more shot on the Jaguars, if only so they can groom a replacement, because their draft spot is going to be fucked next year, so they're going to have to draft someone who's going to be a prospect. So I think he gets one more year at Jacksonville, and then they move on after his 5th-year option.
Oh,
he's a relative.
I was thinking Blaine Gabbert. I was totally not. Blake Bortles? Oh, yeah, okay.
You're getting ahead of yourself there, so let's calm it down. So Blake Bortles.
Yeah, I think he's got one more year.
Okay.
Max.
All right.
16
Perfect.
Games max.
Next one, Josh McCown.
No.
Yes, but he's not a starter.
I don't know. I think he's going to be a backup somewhere next year. I honestly just don't know.
I think he replaces fucking Fitzmagic
I can see that. He's already played down there, so I could totally see that. I was actually going to say he goes to Buffalo just because they're just completely monkey fucked their whole situation up. So, and yeah, Nathan Peterman is not the answer. All right, so we got a little bit of a split one there. We already got your opinion, Mike. Blaine Gabbert.
And yes, he's going to be the Cardinal starter.
I don't know. I say
Tough.
yes, but he's not starting. He'll be the quarterback, the backup quarterback in Arizona because Arizona's so dumb. They're going to think that Carson Palmer can play again.
I'm going to go with yes, just because I think Carson Palmer is going to have one more. There's no reason that Larry Fitzgerald signs on for another year if he's going through a quarterback rebuild. So I think he's going to get one more year with Palmer, but I think Gabbert stays in the backup just because he knows the system.
Right.
So,
right.
All right. Tom Savage.
No.
I don't know. I don't think so. I just don't think he's going to. Yeah, I think he's going to ruin his career. All right, and then
if like 3 or 4 major quarterbacks go down and backups end up, he might end up getting signed to like a practice squad or some shit like that. But I don't think he's a day one roster. I don't think he's there.
Fair enough. All right, last one. Brock Osweiler.
Yes.
No, I don't.
Oh yeah, he's still in Denver, 100%. He's behind.
No, I don't.
Or he's behind Paxton Lynch.
No, I don't think so.
I think he's not on a roster next year. I think he's just done nothing to help himself there. Anyway, I just don't. I agree with Mike. I don't think he's on a roster. Yeah, he has. So is Sam Bradford, really. But that was my bonus round one. Sam Bradford.
Yes, he definitely is. He's gonna get another shot somewhere else. I don't know where, but he's definitely gonna get a shot somewhere else. If Bortles leaves Jacksonville, that might be where he goes.
I think he retires. I honestly think his body cannot play in the NFL. His knees are terrible. I feel bad for the kid because he obviously wants to play. Like, I don't have any ill will against him, even as a Rams fan, but the guy just does not have knees for the NFL. He's made of glass. He's Brandon Roy as a quarterback.
He's Robert Griffin III.
Robert Griffin III had flashes of talent. Let's not get extreme here.
Oh, yeah, he did.
All right.
Final game.
So anyway,
let's end it out. Let's get out of here, right?
Yeah.
Bengals Steelers.
My game.
Oh, it's your game. Nice.
It's my game. So yeah, once again, the Pittsburgh Steelers just.
Monday night game is supposed to be group chat, bro.
There's 16 games. We had to split it up evenly between 4 people.
You can cut something.
That's just math. Anyway, yeah, well, we once again got to see the magic of fucking Heinz Field and the killer bees and that goddamn stupid toilet paper towel. But once again, Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown just make fucking ratings magic that Colin Cowherd, Al Michaels will be masturbating furiously to until he dies. So I think Pittsburgh coming off of a very big win, even though it was not against a good team, they're still emotional win to stay within the hunt for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Cincinnati is just coming apart at the seams. They just do not look like they can keep it together unless they're playing the Browns. Overall, I think Andy Dalton is in trouble. I mean, you look at their receiver core. You got AJ Green, who's looking good. But Brandon LaFell is garbage. Tyler Kroft is okay, and their running back situation is totally horse fucked. I think in Pittsburgh, this is going to be just a very. I'm sorry, in Cincinnati. Even though it's in Cincinnati, I just don't see this being anywhere near a good game. I think all the primetime games are going to be blowouts this week, and this is going to be the worst of all 3 of them. I think Pittsburgh wins this one by 2 touchdowns, and Marvin Lewis is either fired or totally on the hot seat Tuesday morning.
Yeah, Bengals last in offense. Pittsburgh plays some bad teams really close, but they own the Bengals. I think this is going to be a rout. Steelers big.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead.
Steelers played like shit on defense last week. They played close to crappy teams. I don't believe your 2-touchdown blowout. Honestly, I think it's going to be 10-0 before the Steelers score a point. So I think
that's faith in your team right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Watched enough of it to know, man. So I'm gonna go with the Steelers for sure, but I don't think it's 2 touchdowns, man. I'm not. If it is, it's because he got 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. That's why.
It's fair. I think under 200 yards receiving for Antonio Brown next week.
Under.
I'm going over. I think he's going to just annihilate them all game. I think Drake Kirkpatrick and Pac-Man Jones are just not worth even consideration of discussion. So I think Antonio Brown just teabags everybody and fucks up daily fantasy for everyone. So, yeah.
All right, week 13 in the bag. So
we did it, folks.
Chris, you'll be joining us next week. You son of a
I won't be here. I'll be in Tucson.
Yeah,
of course you will.
3 of us. You have to mail in your picks.
I'll actually do it this time.
Yeah.
Actual snail mail, not just you can't.
Even though I live down the street, I'm going to send it through the post office to you.
Delivered.
Exactly. Can you seal the envelope with wax too, so we can break the seal when we start the podcast?
Then you can
excellent.
Your family seal, dude. So
perfect.
A lot of close.
It'll be a can of PBR.
Probably some entertaining ones. By the way, fuck you both in fantasy. Thank you for letting me join your league. This is gonna be a fucking cakewalk, sons.
In the playoffs, baby, locked in.
I'm in number 1 seed right now. I'm fucking number 2 seed behind you. Are you number 1 seed? Who's number 1 seed?
I'm 3 and 8.
No, it's Tim who.
Tim.
Yeah. For the record, Tim got in as the number 1 seed last year. He put up 47 points in the first week of the playoffs, and I beat him with 52 points. So, Tim, not a lock to win anything.
I am playing this week. I think you're playing your brother.
It doesn't matter. I'm out.
Yeah, so.
You both are. Both the Peltons are eliminated. There is good justice in the world.
I was with Kyle last week. He goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I should check my fantasy team."
Yeah, he has Eli
I haven't
Manning.
said it in 2 weeks.
He still has Andrew Luck.
I know. He didn't know he was injured.
Oh, jeez.
Wow. Oh, and he'll tell you he builds missiles. He doesn't have time for this shit. But then he'll talk shit when he wins.
On that note, I gotta go.
All right, boys.
All right.
Have a good night.
Gentlemen,
See you later.
it's been fun. Go Rams.
Later, Josh.
See ya.